Chapter 11. Conflict 1. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. In the end, Camilla didn't teach Billy a single thing in a full month. The only thing he had to do was to get used to the weapon and its weight. During that time, he made the staff reach level 10, and he checked the effects that it could have. HP LV01. 10 skill points. MP LV01. 10 skill points. SP LV01. 10 skill points. Solid attack LV01. 50 skill points. The options didn't increase all that much, but Billy liked the power of the new effect. It grants a point in strength for as long as the user can fight without getting hit. While it didn't seem much, the effect increased up to 10 times, so if the effect reaches level 10, the weapon will give a bonus of 100 points in strength after the user stays 10 seconds without getting hit. Naturally, the weapon will have to reach level 100 to have that many skill points. Something feels off, the effects seemed too small in number, the options are far too few, Billy thought. Billy didn't have that much time to meditate as before, so he had to use his time wisely and think of the best options. So, he couldn't help but feel troubled due to the lack of options. Another day passed while Billy was thinking about that, and his father and grandmother appeared. In the end, Anna decided to stay with them since it was more convenient. Besides, as much as she tried to look cold, she always liked to sit down and mess with Billy's head to relax. Nevertheless, the mood of those two seemed a bit difficult that day while they were having dinner. "Did something happen today?" Camilla asked. "The Lord finally decided to give us some extra rights for our hard work. We now can move across the whole town without asking for permission beforehand," Drew replied. "He also wanted us to form a special squad with the people of our tribe and guard one of the sides of the walls when necessary. I was appointed to lead that group. Isn't that a good thing?" Camilla frowned. "Yes, it is, but I feel like I obtained a new level of strength without deserving it. My weapon also looks more powerful than the others," Drew said. Billy gulped since he was the cause of that. He was trying to help, but perhaps he caused more problems instead of solving them. That world was a dangerous one, but the strength to survive isn't the only thing one needs. Strength can also bring jealousy and extra responsibilities. When some other tribes heard that, they didn't like it since they have been here for longer than us, Drew said. In the end, a fight broke out and the guards of the lord of the town had to break some bones. Even some of ours got wounded. While it looked like the issue was solved, many other things related to this will probably happen in the future. Billy was worried since now he didn't know what he should do anymore. The strength of his father was moving away from the others of his tribe and quickly reaching the level of the guards of the town. It will be troublesome if even those get jealous of him. Billy couldn't imagine his father getting killed due to his strength. That would be a loss to the town. However, his spear might be stolen, and people will realize that it is far stronger than others. It was hard to imagine them finding the answer as to why that was the case, though. "Just talk to your subordinates not to fall for any taunts and things will be fine," Anna said. "We can't let our ego inflate anymore since we had to abandon our territory. I'm no worried about their actions, I am worried about what might happen to them if something unexpected happens to annoy them," Drew said. "Anyway, it has been a while since you began to train Billy. Is there anything related to it that I need to hear?" "No, Billy is very diligent and never complains," Camilla said while smiling. "Totally unlike us, I see," Drew said and then patted his son's head. "We hated training when we were young since we didn't understand how dangerous things were outside the village." Instead, Billy was more interested in what his father mentioned earlier, the possibility of happening to annoy the other warriors of the tribe. Was his family safe from that? Billy couldn't deny that humans are a species stupid enough to turn to one another when they are bored or when they just want to keep or gain something stupid. Billy waited for something to happen for quite a while, but nothing happened even after a full year. However, when the kids of the village began to play around town after their training, a certain 7-year-old boy one day returned while being pulled roughly by the arm by a redhead beardo and several other grown-up men. Another kid was behind them, but it seemed that the body belonged to their tribe. What is going on here? Camilla asked when she recognized the boy who was being dragged down. He was a kid who lost his mother on the day he was born, and his father was working as a guard. That boy was being trained by the mother of another kid, but she wasn't around at the moment, so Camilla felt that she had to step forward for him. This brat attacked my kid and then disrespected me when I scolded him. The redhead beardo said in a loud tone. That is why you felt the need to grab him like this and come with other adults. Camilla frowned. I am sure you need their help to solve this small matter. Kids like this need to be treated roughly, otherwise they will cause even more problems later on. The redhead man raised his voice even more. Let him go, Camilla said. Chapter 12. Conflict 2. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The boy wasn't crying, but he was clearly in pain since an adult was holding his arm firmly. While the boy apparently didn't get hit, it seemed that Beardo was waiting for the perfect chance to do that if no one punished him. I won't, until I am sure that this brat is punished severely for his actions, the Beardo said. Let him go, now, Camilla said with ice-cold eyes. I won't. Are you deaf? You're stupid. The Beardo said, but then his face went white. Without anyone could see it, Billy struck the balls of the Beardo with his staff. It helped that everyone was focused on Camilla. In any case, that guy sure had some balls to shout at Billy's mother like that. With that in mind, Billy decided to decrease their size. Since he couldn't breathe, the Beardo fell on his knees, and everyone realized what Billy had done. The serious atmosphere disappeared since Camilla looked surprised. Billy was a very calm child who never caused problems, until now, after all. In any case, the other boy used that chance to escape to his house, and that annoyed the Beardo even more, when he recovered. What the hell are you teaching this brat? Is that what your tribe passes to the next generations? The Beardo asked. He didn't like that you raise your voice to talk to me, so you should think again before shouting, Camilla said. Anyway, if you want to keep going with this, we take the matter to the lord of the town. It is up to you, but if you treat our kids like that again, I will be the one to crush your balls. After hearing that, even Billy felt shivers. His mother was way too scary. He wasn't the only one who felt shivers after hearing that. The Beardo and his group could tell that Camilla wasn't joking. This better not happen again, the Beardo said. And the next time he does something like that again. You will do what? Camilla asked after she firmly stepped forward. In the end, the Beardo couldn't say any more than that. He knew that Camilla was Drew's wife, but he didn't know that she was that intense. Drew was also a relatively calm guy who only showed his wild side when he was fighting. Still, despite all the hardships his tribe has been dealing with, he never did anything rash. Once that group disappeared, those around who watched the exchange began to follow with their daily routines. They will have to control their kids for a while until everyone forgets about that mess, but it wasn't that much of a problem. Thank you, Billy, Camilla said. Still, what you did was unnecessary and uncalled for. But he was so noisy. Billy said. That he was, but your mommy isn't someone who needs protection against that type, Camilla said and then hugged Billy while feeling his cheeks against hers. Still, that was very brave of you. Perhaps we should take the next step regarding your training. Billy knew that since he used appraisal on that group, and in the end, they were at a lower level than his mother. Still, not even their high numbers probably wouldn't help them since she had a certain aura that they didn't have. In any case, in secrecy, Billy has been practicing fighting with the stone staff since it was boring just walking or running around with it. That was why he managed to hit that guy's balls on his first try. Still, he didn't feel like he was getting better at it. He found on the skill list the staffmanship and spearmanship for 50 points, but Billy hesitated in getting those because he might get it by training. After all, both of his parents had spearmanship, he confirmed that thanks to appraisal. The weird thing was the fact that Billy could even learn skills like swordsmanship, archery, iron fists. All those skills increased the power of his attacks with a certain weapon or without one. They also cost 50 skill points. It was weird because he never saw someone fighting with those weapons. So, why did the system already have such skills already registered? Nevertheless, Billy began to be taught some moves from his mother from that day onward. While he wanted to learn some attacks, his mother only taught him how to block and parry, as if that wasn't boring enough. She also called the kid that she helped yesterday to practice with him. After all, his mother was too strong. His name is Alexander and he asked me to teach him how to fight, so treat him well, Camilla said. He told me that he just bumped into another kid yesterday and the boy hurt his knee upon falling, so he isn't a bad kid. Alexander was obviously taller and physically stronger than Billy. Still, it wasn't what would make Billy fear a 7-year-old kid. If anything, he was having a hard time preventing a sigh. Alexander was like most people of the tribe, black-haired and had green eyes, but aside from that, he had really short hair and some bruises all over his body. Training wasn't hard with children of that age, they didn't have pointy spears either, so it looked like he was a klutz. It was only obvious considering how he got in trouble the previous day. In any case, Camilla whispered something into Alexander's ears and then he nodded. Soon after, he assumed an offensive stance and began to attack Billy. Chapter 13. Future 1. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. While Billy didn't have much experience in sparring, he managed to block Alexander's attacks pretty easily. The reason for that was that he was going easy on him. Camilla probably asked him to do that and make Billy get used to sparring. Alexander looked at Billy's left shoulder and then tried to strike there, but Billy saw that and blocked the swing. The same thing happened with his left leg, while Billy decided to keep his guard up in case he changed his target at the last moment. That never happened. As if that wasn't enough, Billy didn't gain the skill spearmanship either, not even staffmanship. That wasn't the only problem, though. The fact that Billy didn't increase his strength began to cause trouble. Since even though they were obvious, Alexander's attacks were a bit heavy. Still, Billy decided to endure that until the end of the training session that only lasted for half an hour. After that, Camilla began to spar with Alexander, and Billy went running around the area with his staff. It is time to increase my strength again, and perhaps my speed, that should help me obtain spearmanship faster, Billy said while looking at the bruises and the fact that his fingers had turned purple. Billy. LV 31. 350/1060 EXP HP, 1521 MP 75 75 SP 11 15 Strength. 09 Speed. 06 Magic. 36 Endurance. 06 Dexterity. 01 Status Points. 116 Skill List. Mana/EXP Conversion LV Infinity, EXP Master LV Infinity, Language Skill LV 29, Analyze LV 22, Appraisal LV 25, Meditation LV 13, Skill Points. 135. Since this time Billy used 9 status points, he clearly felt his body getting stronger and lighter. Not to mention, the pain in his hands decreased considerably. Maybe I should pay more attention to the other kids' training and then learn some offensive moves, Billy thought. Billy was in a hurry since he probably already died once, and in his new life, he had to see his parents abandoning their home because they didn't have a choice and they were being attacked by more powerful foes. He didn't want to experience that again. Still, trying to train on his own always made him feel guilty since he wasn't learning everything from his mother. In the end, Billy decided to just show his growth and then wait for his mother to take the next step in training. That only happened after a week. Alexander's attacks weren't so obvious anymore. Still, Billy could react and block them on time with his current strength and speed. The only remaining problem was the fact that he had yet to learn spearmanship. "All right, Billy," Camilla said. Today I am going to teach you the right posture to deliver a thrust attack. You will need to practice the posture and the attack 100 times every day. You can't skip the other parts of your training, so this will be an extra. Okay, Billy nodded. Billy thought that thrust attacks would be easy since he used something similar to hit the balls of the Beardo. However, he soon came to learn that it wouldn't be easy. In the right posture, he couldn't relax even for a moment, so he was getting extra tired after each strike. To make matters more complicated, he could only practice after doing his daily training routine. Mind the distance between your legs, relax your shoulders, don't strain too much your wrists. Camilla said. You have learned the skill spearmanship. It increases the power of your attacks by 1 point per level. When Billy finally did everything correctly, he saw that notification. Due to the surprise, he stopped for a moment, but then Camilla pinched his cheeks. He couldn't begin to slack off now. I have yet to increase my strength and my other status without relying on the system, but it should be possible since I obtained this skill, Billy thought while he resumed his training. Another thing that confirmed that was the strength of everyone around Billy, who had more status points allocated than they were supposed to have according to their levels. In any case, now that he had the skill, Billy felt eager to train in earnest even the tedious repetitions. Just when things were starting to get interesting, something troublesome happened. Billy's grandmother returned home alone. That was weird since she always comes with Drew. Did something happen? Camilla asked while they were working together to make dinner. I don't know, he always shows up when the medicine shop is closing, Anna replied. Did he warn you about a sudden change in work? No, it seems the other warriors didn't return either, Camilla said after she looked outside their home. His whole squad has yet to return. Billy didn't like that, he didn't stop leveling up his father and his weapon when he had the chance. Still, he made sure to keep at a level where the power up would be barely noticeable. Considering that his father didn't have problems at work in the last 3 years, something suddenly happened to make that change. Maybe I should call Alexander to have dinner with us since his father is also out there, Camilla said. Camilla's motherly instincts were too strong, considering that she wanted to look after another kid. As for Billy, he couldn't help but feel troubled since kids were complicated, and interacting with them when they thought that he was a kid as well only made things even more troublesome. In the end, Alexander had dinner with them, but the mood didn't improve since he was a quiet kid as well. Nevertheless, Drew and his squad eventually appeared around midnight. Billy only heard what happened the next day at sunrise when he saw the wounds around his father's body. After 3 years, the elementalists appeared again. Chapter 14. Future 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Their wind magic is as sharp as usual, Anna said as she applied for medicine on Drew's wounds. It is annoying since it is so fast, fire magic is easier to dodge, but I can't barely see their wind projectiles, Drew said. Anyway, will I be fine tomorrow morning? Billy got surprised when he heard that term, magic. It didn't seem strange that in a world where he had a weird power and system, that other people would be able to use it. Regardless, the elementalists were back after they managed to decimate the other small villages in that area, and the next and the nearest opponents were the Hammersmiths. Drew and the other members of the tribe will have a day off to heal their wounds, but it looked like things were going to get heated again. I was planning to make spearmanship level up by training alone, but I guess I can't afford to do that anymore. Billy thought. Come to think of it. Why did I learn spearmanship when my weapon is clearly a staff? Maybe it was because that kind of attack is more useful for spears, or that stance fits the style. Until now, no one noticed that Billy had more mana than most adults, at least he didn't notice anyone noticing that. With that in mind, he was thinking of raising his magic and thus mana, but he had yet to find a skill that would make him regenerate it faster and by itself. In any case, while he looked for a solution to that problem, he began to steadily level up spearmanship using his mana. On the first day, it reached level 4, and Billy already could see his moves getting sharper, even when he blocked Alexander's attacks. It seems that you got a lot better, Billy, Drew said as he watched the kids sparring. You are a really good teacher, Camilla. Not at all. Billy is just that smart, he learns really fast, Camilla forced a smile. Billy also forced a smile since he didn't deserve all that praise. Nevertheless, that day, Camilla and Drew left to visit the lord of the town for whatever reason, so Billy and Alexander had to train by themselves just by jogging around. I am sorry, Billy, for getting in the way of your family, Alexander said. Don't mind that, Billy said. Alexander rarely talked with Billy, but despite his age, it seemed that the kid was pretty aware of his condition or about the consequences of his actions. It wasn't that unexpected, given that he couldn't be raised by his mother and his father had to fight every day. While Billy didn't feel like interacting with other kids, his attitude towards him apparently made him more than a bit troubled. We are friends now, so troubling each other is only natural, Billy said. I don't really get what you said, but thank you for being my friend, Alexander said and then smiled. Billy didn't like to analyze other people's psychology, but it seemed that Alexander really needed to hear those words. Maybe because he was raised without a mother, he felt like an outcast. Always being trained by someone who wasn't his parent. He was the only one there who didn't have one since the tribe was strong physically, and complications at the birth of a kid were extremely rare. Besides, once they give birth, the women usually retire from the front lines and rarely return since they have other kids while they raise the next generation. Speaking of kids, Billy wanted some siblings. He was a sole child in his previous life, and while that had its benefits, it was pretty boring and lonely in the long run. Nevertheless, it felt a bit weird to call a 7-year-old boy his friend since Billy had lived for 19 years in his previous life and now for 4 in the new one. Hopefully, with all that training, he will beat the record of his previous one. Regardless, now that he had a sparring partner in spearmanship, Billy noticed a few things. If he trains against someone stronger, he can get up to 3 times more experience per hour, but the amount decreased when he used his mana to increase spearmanship. Spearmanship only increased by 1 point of EXP per hour at some point. That was just too inefficient, so Billy decided to make Alexander level up alongside his weapon, and he already noticed a difference. I suppose I need to keep a certain difference in power among us to make this training really worthwhile, Billy thought. Camilla couldn't help but be surprised at the growth of those 2 kids. Even though Alexander was holding back a bit, he still got stronger in the last few weeks. Not to mention, Billy rarely gets hit while they spar. He was a bit too focused on defense when he trained, but even so, his growth was simply phenomenal in her eyes. Camilla thought that she would have to wait for a few months before teaching Billy any new move. Still, it looked like he was ready for a new one after just 2 weeks of practicing the thrust attack. The next move I am going to teach is simple as well, but you will need to watch out the muscles on your back because you will need their strength to make the attack more powerful, Camilla said. You can start using those slash attacks during the spar as well, Alexander. Yes. Alexander said enthusiastically. The next attack move that Billy learned was just a downward slash aimed at the opponent's shoulders. Since he was right-handed, Billy had to put more weight on his right side when he strikes. That was why Camilla said that. Still, he couldn't go all out and attack because he would leave himself wide open. Nevertheless, that repetitive training was starting to get less and less repetitive and more fun since Billy now could mix those attacks and sometimes even fool Alexander with one and attack with another. Chapter 15 Misfits 1. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Another year passed in the blink of an eye. Maybe it had been because now Billy had less time to meditate and more time to talk with others. By others, Billy only talked with Alexander and his mother during the day and at night with his grandmother and father. Still, those 2 were a bit awkward and the silent type, so the conversations never lasted long. Nevertheless, one day when they appeared after another day of work, they suddenly dropped a bombshell. Lately, the number of attacks of the elementalists has increased quite a bit, Drew said. We are starting to lose some of our soldiers, so to increase the level of our forces, the lord of the town decided that all tribes living in the town should train together pretty often. I was wondering when he was going to do something so stupid. Anna said and then sighed. That will only increase the tension among the tribes. Mother, you shouldn't speak like that. Camilla frowned. I thought the forces here would take a lot more time to face a hard time against them. Even our small tribe lasted for decades before we were forced to abandon our territory. That is because we only got attacked by a small number of them. After facing many more here, I realized that we faced the weakest of them, Drew explained with his arms crossed. But now many more of them are working together to defeat this army. Billy almost let out a sigh. Why does that kind of thing always happen when things are starting to get good for him? He didn't know if he would make much difference on the battlefield, but now he was beginning to wonder if he would have the chance to even try. The lord of the town also decided that the children will have to train together, everyone older than 5 years old should join them, Drew added while looking at Billy. Only those who want to become apprentices of other jobs don't need to join. So, what are you going to do, Billy? We are a warrior tribe, but now we have more options. Billy wondered if it was a really good idea to train with other kids. Most likely, their tribes had other types of fighting styles, so they could learn all kinds of things and work on their weaknesses and strengths. Still, considering his power, Billy could always become a blacksmith and enhance the power of everyone by leveling up weapons and gear. Still, while he could help the overall strength of everyone, that would be the same as leaving the destiny of a battle that could end his life in the hands of others. That wasn't good. I want to become a warrior, Dad, Billy said. Well, despite being so calm, you are quite hot-hooded for your age, Drew said and then patted his son's head. This is a turning point for our tribe. While I don't like that idea, we will probably have to expand our ways by adding things from other tribes' fighting styles. There is no point in sticking to stubbornness that will only lead us to our extinction, Anna crossed her eyes and then said. We need to improve our tribe as a whole, to recover from all the losses over the years. If even Anna was willing to abandon certain traditions of the tribe for the sake of their survival, it seemed like they really reached a turning point. While dealing with more kids of who knows how many tribes seemed like trouble, at least now Billy would have the right excuse to try numerous other weapons. Hopefully, mastering them won't take too long. Still, considering how young his grandmother looked, perhaps humans of that world could live longer. From tomorrow onwards, you will be trained near the Lord's residence alongside the other kids, Drew said. What about you, Camilla? We can select up to 5 instructors for each tribe to help, the others can become apprentices in other shops, or you can join us in the front line as well. I would feel a bit more relieved if you decide to become an instructor, but I will respect your decision. Camilla looked at Billy and wondered about the best option. She also has been training Alexander for over a year, stopping now and making the kid being trained by another person would probably bother him since the kid was quite shy. Billy didn't want to let his mother join the front lines either since people had begun to die there. I think that I will rejoin the front lines. If I become an instructor, I will probably be overprotective with Billy, Camilla said. I am sorry, Billy. I know that you don't like to deal with strangers all that much, but I also want to make sure you will have the chance to grow up and obtain the strength to protect yourself. Billy wanted to protest, but he couldn't. He wasn't that selfless, but he wasn't that egotistical either. He didn't want to see his new parents dying so that he could live a few extra years when he already lived as much as them. Still, it was up to them to decide how they would live their life. Okay, Mom, Billy said. Billy didn't know at which age the young ones could join the guard of that town, but he wanted to do it as soon as possible. The fastest way would be by relying on magic. Still, considering that their current enemies used the same, it probably wasn't a very good idea. Billy. LV36. 510/1530 EXP HP, 2727 MP 75/75 SP, 2727 Strength. 12 BL.net Speed. 12 Magic. 36 Endurance. 12 dexterity. 0-1 status points. 121 skill list. Mana/EXP conversion LV Infinity, EXP Master LV Infinity, Language Skill LV 29, Analyze LV 22, Appraisal LV 25, Meditation LV 13, Spearmanship LV 12, Skill Points. 160. Chapter 16. Misfits, 2, you are listening at NovelFull.audio. Since they were going in the same direction around the same time, Billy and his family went together the next day to the place where the kids were going to train. Apparently, Drew and Alexander's dad were going friends, so they went together as well. He was relatively thin and short compared to the other warriors, but he played with his spear around, and he was quite skilled. Not to mention, Alexander's dad didn't have many scars on his body. When Billy used appraisal on him, he learned that his name was Nikola. The area where the kids were going to train was the same as the members of the tribe stayed when they arrived at that town 4 years ago. However, the place now no longer looked like a plaza, it had been walled, and since it had a lot of grass around, it looked like a proper training ground. "Behave yourself, Billy," Drew said before leaving. "Don't worry, Billy," Camilla said. "It might be a bit scary at the beginning, but we will return to pick you up later." Billy nodded. Even though he looked as calm as usual, his parents thought that he would be scared of staying away from them for long and nearby strangers. They couldn't be more wrong, he just didn't interact with others that much because he didn't feel the need, and he wanted all the mana possible, so meditation was something he used whenever he had free time. Nevertheless, a lot of kids were already in the training grounds, and Billy confirmed that the traits of his tribe really were quite different from the others. Still, each tribe at least had one physical characteristic that made them recognizable. Billy recognized the kids from the Beardo tribe since they all had red hair. BDNVLM. There was another tribe that had no weapons, but their fists looked larger than usual. Another one where all of the members were quite tall and thin as well. The most curious tribe had members that kept their eyes closed as much as possible. Billy had no idea why they were doing that, though. There were other tribes, but they were more normal, and their numbers were pretty small. And that was putting aside the members of the Hammersmith. In any case, most tribes had 2 instructors, but 4 of them had 5 instructors, and 1 had 10. The largest number belonged to the Hammersmiths. Their physical strength made them stand out even when they were kids. Regardless, the group that had 5 instructors was Billy's tribe, the redhead guys, the tall guys, and the guys who kept their eyes closed. The instructors meet at the center of the training grounds to discuss something while the kids still stay away from each other in their original groups. It was really troubling that even though those tribes have been working together for years, not even the kids liked the members of the other tribes. "I am getting nervous," Alexander said. "Why? Everyone here are just kids," Billy said. It was hard for Billy to talk and act like a kid, so that was why he stayed silent most of the time. Still, he couldn't stay quiet after hearing that since Alexander might attract unwanted attention to them. Troublesome kids tend to look for easy targets to bully, and there was no easier target than a scaredy-cat. After a while, the instructors of the tribe returned, and they said that everyone would have to show a quick demonstration about their fighting styles. It seemed obvious since they couldn't make kids spar and not hope that something wouldn't happen. Besides, by watching the other tribe, they might learn a thing or two as well, or at least learn enough to prevent accidents when they begin to train together. In the end, that was just a demonstration, but the instructors made sure to put everyone to show what they could do. Still, the redhead guys that belonged to the Beardo tribe couldn't spar since their weapon was a bow. They probably had some secret techniques for when the enemies get close, but showing that would be pretty stupid. In the end, they just fired some arrows toward some straw dummies. Each one of them did the same and fired 10 arrows. Still, even those who were as old as Billy could hit the dummy 5 out of 10 times. Those who were older basically only aimed toward the heads of the dummies, and their aim was even better. The apprentices of the hammersmiths showed how strong they were by using some big-ass hammers. While the guys with closed eyes showed how they could fight with swords even without opening them. It seemed like a spectacle, the whole presentation. Soon enough, the instructors of Billy's tribe made their apprentices spar against each other. There was nothing impressive going on, but everyone paid attention to them. It seems I can learn a few things from these kids, Billy thought. While the tribes didn't look that friendly, Billy couldn't feel much animosity coming from most of them. However, he could feel some very angry gazes coming from the redhead archers. It seemed the incident with Alexander still was in their heads. I guess I will put aside the idea of learning archery. I wonder if there is a skill that will alert me if an arrow is being pointed at me, Billy thought while rubbing his chin. Chapter 17 Misfits, 3, you are listening at NovelFull.audio. Although the kids reunited every day to practice their fighting styles, it took several weeks for people of different tribes to spar with others. In the meantime, Billy noticed something weird happening. When a red-haired girl of the archers tribe knocked 2 arrows at the same time and fired, she hit the dummy while she was being scolded for some reason. Billy saw a notification. The skill double shot is now available on the skill list shop. Double shot. 10 skill points swordsmanship. 50 skill points staffmanship. 50 skill points iron fists. 50 skill points. A new skill appeared, and it wasn't a passive one. It seemed that Billy could increase the list of available skills, but he had to see the skills in action. I suppose the others existed already because I saw them in some game or movie, Billy thought. That also explained why despite having so many skill points, there is no spell to acquire. In order to be able to learn magic, Billy will have to see the magic first, which seemed like a problem. In any case, the cost of double shot was only 2 SP, so it was a skill even newbies could use often. As long as they have arrows. Regardless, while some tribes began to spar with each other, no one tried to contact Billy's tribe or their members. Still, Alexander was looking toward with eyes full of expectation. You are wasting your time, we are the newest tribe here, so we will probably be the last to train with others, Billy said. Not to mention, practicing with other kids with weapons would be dangerous. Even if some instructor keeps an eye on them, in any case, Alexander didn't hear what Billy said because he was looking toward the red archers as if he was mesmerized by them. When Billy followed his gaze, he found the girl who had been scolded earlier for using double shot. She was probably as old as Alexander, but she looked like a tomboy with short red hair and always frowning. It seemed a bit soon for Alexander to fall in love, but that wasn't Billy's problem. Billy looked around for another partner to spar with until Alexander recovered, but he didn't find anyone. Some kids were resting, but they avoided his eyes when he looked at them. That was weird. Billy didn't remember doing anything to make him look bad in front of the other kids. Was it because his father was the commander, more or less, of the tribe? In any case, Billy could learn and level skills by watching them or by using the system, so finding sparring partners wasn't something he had to do now. Or so Billy thought. Eventually, the people of his tribe began to be called by other kids to spar, and Alexander was the chosen guinea pig. He hesitated in leaving Billy training alone, but Billy said that he could go with them. He didn't need his permission anyway. Maybe I should be more proactive about this, instead of waiting to be called by the other kids, Billy thought while he was rubbing his chin. The question was, who Billy should ask first. He also needed to worry about the instructors since they were starting to get busy. He had to choose someone who wouldn't cause trouble. After looking around for a while, Billy found some people in the other tribes who were also like him, kind of like outcasts who didn't get along with the other kids of their tribes for one reason or the other. He found a yellow-haired girl on the tribe of the closed-eyed guys. Billy heard a few days ago that they called themselves the Light Seekers, which was weird since they weren't supposed to see anything with their eyes closed. Nevertheless, while the girl seemed to be 2 or 3 years older than Billy, that wasn't a problem since everyone in their tribe fought using short swords. In reach and weight, Billy had the advantage. "Hello, my name is Billy. Would you like to spar with me?" Billy asked. The girl didn't open her eyes, but she looked at Billy from head to toe. It was weird and uncomfortable since she stayed silent for a while, but eventually, she gave a reply. "I am sorry, but the age difference is too big. I will probably end up hurting you," the girl said. "I wouldn't have chosen someone who wouldn't be able to land a hit on me to spar," Billy said. "That is good. Fine, don't cry later for that," the girl said. Billy wanted to Tokay that she probably wouldn't hit him if she kept her eyes closed, but a kid would take that too seriously. In the end, they headed toward the corner of the training plaza to spar there. The girl assumed her position while pointing her stone sword toward Billy with a single arm. Billy assumed his stance while holding the staff with two hands but while pointing at her feet. Suddenly, the girl stepped forward, and by following the shortest route, she thrust her sword toward his stomach. Billy partied the strike to the right side while frowning. She was too into the spar. She clearly wasn't holding back. The girl stepped backward and analyzed Billy once again with her eyes closed. She realized that she had underestimated him, and he probably was hiding some skills since he parried her fastest attack and didn't complain. In the end, the girl assumed a resting position with her sword while holding it with both hands. First, a pretty quick attack, and now she was planning to use both arms with all her weight behind it. Perhaps Billy had chosen the wrong partner. She looked quiet and meek from a distance, but perhaps she was an outcast because of her violent behavior. Nevertheless, when she attacked with all her might, Billy just moved his spear and blocked the attack. The weight behind it was a bit troublesome, but he didn't let her notice that. Bad kids need to be taught a lesson. Chapter 18. Misfits. 4. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The blonde girl was fast and strong for her age, but Billy didn't see her using any of the fighting styles that the other members of her tribe showed until now. She only tried to overwhelm Billy with pure speed and raw strength. Unfortunately for her, that made her attacks easy to block or parry. At first, Billy thought that it would be good training when he begins to fight violent individuals, but he changed his mind when his hands began to hurt. Staying on the defensive wasn't good. Billy didn't want to make the girl become the mockery of her tribe for losing against a smaller kid, so when she used her trust attack again, Billy changed he made his pivot leg step back, and he turned his body to the left side and dodged the strike. At the same time, he moved his staff and pointed toward her stomach. The momentum of her attack had been powerful enough to hit her belly and make her gasp for air in the next moment, but she didn't lose consciousness. If Billy had put power behind the attack, she certainly would have fainted, but she just dropped his sword and began to cough. "You can't attack so recklessly," Billy said. "It is easier to counterattack that way. Don't get the wrong idea just because of a lucky attack," the girl said while she was picking up her sword. "All right then," Billy said. Billy waited for the girl to attack again. He tried to protect her dignity, but it seemed that wouldn't be enough. His tribe didn't seem that hot-blooded, so it was weird, but Billy couldn't care less about that right now. Despite her hot-bloodedness, the girl now was wary of counterattacks. The girl charged again, but she spun around in the next moment to gain extra power while aiming at Billy's neck, but the attack had been too obvious again. Billy's staff was already there to block the attack. It was heavier than before, but only that. However, the girl had a surprise in store. Before she could lose the momentum, she used her spinning body to kick Billy's in the stomach. In the end, Billy was forced to retreat for the first time. "Not bad, but if you weren't so angry, I wouldn't have noticed your kick," Billy said. The girl ignored that and tried to attack again. Billy wondered what the heck her parents were teaching her. She was too impulsive. Nevertheless, even if he was smaller, Billy wouldn't let another kid hit him. By focusing on blocking and parrying, he avoided all their attacks, and when she let her frustration get the better of her again, he made his staff hit her stomach. Every time that happened, she lost some of her speed and power, so in the end, she couldn't do much to stop him. That was fun, Billy said while looking at his bruised hands. Thank you, I hope you have learned as much as I. In the end, Billy left without even hearing her name, but that was fine. He got a lot more than that. The battle experience was rare for a 5-year-old kid. When Billy returned, he saw one of 5 instructors looking at him. He apologized since he sneaked out without telling anyone. Despite that, he was praised for defeating the wild girl. Was that something really worthy of praise? Nevertheless, he found Alexander sitting in the corner with his head down. He seemed depressed, but it didn't look like he had suffered a beating. What happened? Billy asked while wondering if he would have to deal with difficult children for a long time. I discovered who Lily's father is. Alexander replied. Who is Lily? That girl that gets scolded a lot. Billy frowned. Yes, her father is the man who wanted to punish me before, Alexander replied. That kid sure lived a complicated life. He got interested in the daughter of the man who almost beat him in front of others because of a mistake. It was just a child's first love, so it was pretty innocent. Still, that didn't make things simpler. In the end, that training day ended, and they went home. Billy decided to keep himself away from troublesome matters because he wanted to focus on the future. So, Alexander's first crush was something completely useless to him. He only wished him luck. Regardless, nothing changed on his home that day, but on the next day, the blonde girl approached Billy with her arms crossed and with her chin raised. Let's spar again, the girl said. Sorry, but you will have to find someone else, Billy replied. Why? The girl asked, visibly annoyed. Because you will repeat the same mistakes. Billy said and then sighed. I won't. The girl said. Billy wondered how he should tell her something so obvious. Still, he realized that her hands were more bruised than before, and she had some bags under her eyes. It seemed that she spent the 9th training. Still, knowing her, she would want to defeat Billy with speed and power again, but she couldn't do that with the strength she obtained in one night. What is your name? Billy asked. What does that have to do with anything? It is Natalie, the blonde girl said. Okay. Let's see if you are right, Billy said while looking to one of the instructors. The instructor looked at Billy and nodded. Come to think of it, the instructors of her tribe, no one came with her, and none of the other kids were sparring, so it wasn't like they were busy. It seemed that a lot was going on with Natalie as well. Billy also realized that he apparently was a magnet to troublesome kids. Chapter 19. Misfits, 5, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Billy assumed a defensive stance again to see how Natalie would fight that day. Much to his surprise, she looked more composed despite the fact that she was exhausted. After taking a deep breath, Natalia dashed toward Billy and swung her sword toward his left side. He moved his staff to block the attack, but Natalia stopped and tossed her sword to her left hand at the last moment. Before Billy could fix his stance, Natalia grabbed his staff with her right hand, grabbed her weapon, and swung toward him. In the end, Billy had to do the unthinkable. He let his sword go since he wasn't strong enough to pull it back in an instant and retreat. He should have just accepted the pain of the strike instead of letting his weapon go, for a warrior. That was unacceptable. I guess my mentality is nowhere near at the right level for fighting. Billy thought. See? I told you it wouldn't end up in the same way, Natalie said with a big smile on her face. Not bad, but I won't fall for the same trick again, Billy said. Did you come up with better strategies overnight? Natalie's smile froze since she indeed spent the night training and reviewing the spar of the previous day. Since she was just a kid, she thought that a single strategy would be enough. Soon Billy taught her that it wouldn't. Natalie tried to attack again, but Billy had a longer reach, so in the second round, before she could do anything, Billy hit her stomach when she advanced. She was reminded once again why she wouldn't charge so recklessly. When she controlled herself, she managed to dodge the strike, but when she advanced to attack, she had lost her momentum. Thus, when she swung her sword, Billy jumped to the side and made her hit the air. She was strong and fast, but it seemed that Natalie didn't have much experience in spars. It was clear that she only now was realizing that she had to keep her guard up when attacking and that she needed a way to recover the momentum as fast as possible after dodging a strike. Although she wasn't using the fighting style of her tribe, she was making progress and making Billy get even more fighting experience. When it comes to skills, they were at the same level since Natalie was fighting using her own simple and basic style, but when it came to status, she was stronger. That was fine with Billy because the experience of fighting someone stronger was a lot more valuable than fighting with someone weaker or on the same level. Despite all that, Billy landed more hits because Natalie was a kid, and he had the mind of a 20.4-years-old man. Fooling her was easy. Still, it was pretty fun to practice with someone that used another weapon since he more or less knew all the moves Alexander could make. In the end, Billy and Natalie ended up daily for several months. While the kid wasn't pretty simple-minded, she had a good head for combat. She had strength, speed, and at some point, began to rethink and change her strategies in the middle of a battle. "Billy, I heard that you made a friend from another tribe," Camilla said while patting Billy's head. "Treat her nicely, okay? But don't forget Alexander." Billy frowned when he heard that. It seemed like his mother wanted to give him the job of babysitting those troublesome children. He knew that the instructors gave reports to the parents of all kids weekly. Still, it seemed that they didn't tell her anything about Alexander and the fact that he also made a friend. However, he had a hard time sparring with her since the sole weapon of her tribe was the bow. Along the course of those months, Billy talked with Natalie about other things aside from combat, even though she was quite the muscle head. Apparently, her father didn't have the talent to use the fighting style of her tribe, so he developed his own fighting style over the course of the years based on speed and strength. However, he died 2 years ago, and people said that it was due to his lack of talent and beret fighting style. Natalie wanted to prove to those who said that they were wrong. Still, she couldn't ignore her mother's side, so she wanted to mix those. Due to that, she had close to zero friends, and the other kids didn't want to spar with her since the tribe was known for being skilled and not a brute. Billy finally understood why she was so violent on their first meeting. She was too stressed because she didn't make any progress with her goal. Regardless, at some point, Billy asked Alexander to spar with Natalie as well because he used less his head and relied more on his fighting experience. Another reason was the fact that Billy wanted her not to get over-reliant on him. It was fine having her goals, but sticking too much with a single thing might make her lose sight of others that could help her along the way. In the end, their level of strength was similar. Still, since Alexander wasn't defensive like Billy and he was slower due to the length of his weapon, Natalie ended up winning 3 of 4 of their spars. "You are too timid when attacking, Alexander," Natalie said. "It is because I don't want to hurt a girl," Alexander said. "Ha! Are you looking down on me?" Natalie asked. In the end, Natalia ended up getting Billy's habit of telling others what she thinks that they should improve after a battle. It wasn't something amazing, but the more he did that, the more Natalie improved, and she could see that made Billy realize that she wasn't a bad kid. Since she also wanted to see others improve. Chapter 20. Misfits, 6, you are listening at NovelFull.audio. After some time, Natalie began to spar with Alexander. A new member joined the group of misfits. It was Lily. That happened when Billy and Alexander started to experiment fighting with the stone sword, and Natalie also tried their stone staff. Until now, she avoided using any mind or weapon. The redhead people were as much tradition as Billy's tribe, after all. Still, in the end, her curiosity got the better of her. "Let me try that too," Lily suddenly appeared and said. Billy wondered what he should do. Lily probably wanted to spar with Natalie and then eventually become friends with her. He could see that in her eyes. However, letting those two use weapons that they were not used to might cause an accident. "All right, just don't aim at each other's heads," Billy said while passing his staff to Lily. Billy had already learned swordsmanship when he imitated some of Natalie's moves, and he wanted to learn how to use a bow as well. Still, he would have to ask for some tips from Lily later. In any case, the girls started slowly since they didn't have any experience with those weapons. Still, once they got used to it, they began to attack each other relatively fast. When Billy used appraisal, he confirmed that Lily also had a high strength. It was only natural after pulling the strings of bows hundreds of times every day. Like they were copying each other, those two tried to hit their legs, but the staff collided and blocked each other. A low strike like that was easy to land, after all. They also tried to hit each other's ribs. Still, once again, the weapons collided against each other. The same thing happened so many times. Eventually, it became a contest about who was the strongest and who would land an attack first. While it was silly, they went and did that for quite a while, until their arms were hurting so much that they couldn't move. "Not bad, for an archer," Natalie said. "You aren't half bad for someone so hot-blooded either," Lily said. It was a pretty weird way to make friends, but in the end, it was like that those two became friends. While Billy was frowning, Alexander was smiling since the group was getting bigger. Things were proceeding well, and judging by Billy's experience, something troublesome was bound to happen. After all, it had become a normal occurrence after that point in time. However, the family had some good ones instead of some bad news. When they were having dinner, Camilla announced to everyone that she was pregnant. Her condition had gotten a bit worse over the last few weeks, and her belly had grown, after all. So, it was evident that she was. Billy would have the sibling that he had been waiting for. Fortunately enough, it happened during a time the elementalist wasn't attacking that often, so the guards didn't miss Camilla's presence much. However, after several months, everyone noticed that her belly was getting big way too fast. Billy already knew the reason for that, but the others didn't. Apparently, twins weren't a common sight in that world, just Billy had expected. His mother went into labor sooner than anyone expecting and her condition got complicated. However, since Billy imagined that such a thing might happen, he made his mother level up several times during the last few months. He increased her endurance with status points and gave her a bonus in health by leveling up her clothes. In the end, the cries of two healthy children began to echo through the house. Drew looked ecstatic when he saw that his new kids were a boy and a girl. Meanwhile, Camilla smiled and then let some tears flow because she was relieved. As for Billy, the last time he felt so happy was the time when he was reborn. Unfortunately, he couldn't play with them for several months since they were still pretty frail. Camilla and Anna looked after them day and night during that time, and Billy only helped with miscellaneous things. "You look pretty happy for some reason," Natalie said after managing to knock down Billy only once. "Recently, your head isn't here during the spars, so I can't tell if I am making progress." Billy's siblings were just born, so he is humming in a good mood pretty much all the time, Alexander explained. Billy got a bit angry since Alexander involved himself in something that wasn't his business. While that wasn't exactly a secret, he still didn't have any right to say that. That being said, kids will be kids, so they don't watch their mouths. Noel.n. I also have some news, Natalie said. The grown.ups said that I can begin to train with them. I am already 10, after all. Soon, I will join the guard and help them fight the enemies. Natalie spoke like being 10 was one hell of an achievement. In any case, her skills certainly improved over the course of the last 2 years, but it was hard to say if she would be able to learn more from others who weren't as patient as Billy. Don't get your ass kicked too much, Billy said. Humph. I still will come now and then to show how much strength I will get, Natalie said after snorting. They can only train me near the walls, and sometimes it is too dangerous to train there. Soon, I will become strong enough to kill all of them. It seemed that Natalie's father died in the hands of the elementalist. No wonder her wish to become strong was so powerful. While Billy didn't have many responsibilities toward her, he was worried. She was seriously the type who needed someone to watch her back all the time. While he was the smallest of the group, he was the oldest mentally speaking, and at that point in time, he couldn't help but worry about the others.